Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Amen. What a way to start this evening. I love that song. I love the energy to that song, and it's an awesome evening. Good evening out there. Welcome to another episode of Yes with Yesse this Thursday evening. Thursday, closer to Friday, closer to the weekend, closer to Sunday, church morning, and then we do it all over again. Good evening. I love this setup right here, I gotta say. I love being able to see you guys there on the screen. I love it. I love it. Good evening. Good evening, everybody in the room with me on Facebook. I see you, Sister Diane. Good evening, Reverend Crescent. Good evening, Minister Pastor Henry. Good evening. And everybody else there on their way in this evening. Good evening. Good evening to everybody listening to us on 89.1 FM on the radio dial. Good evening to you. Safe travels wherever you're going, wherever you're coming from. May you make it home safely and continue to enjoy 89.1 all day, every day on that dial. And those on YouTube family, good evening. And again, thank you for joining us. We wouldn't be here if it weren't for you. So good evening, YouTube. And do me a favor, if you can, take a moment to like and share. If you're there on social media, it's New Season Gospel FM on Facebook. And if you can just copy and paste that link and send it to somebody that you know would be interested in getting some information tonight and getting some resources and just listening to us, share it. Share it so that others can definitely enjoy tonight's episode along with everything else that we have to offer. And we're going to get started this evening, and I'm talking to you guys today from the heart. I always talk to you guys from the heart, but I love being able to relate what I'm talking to, or what I'm talking about, I love to relate what I am talking about to my personal experiences, to my lived experiences, because I feel like that is the best way to to teach and to live together in unity and to just, learn from one another. I think that is an amazing thing, and I don't see that enough. I don't think we see that enough as a society. So it's really cool to experience it and then to be able to pay it forward with the experiences that we live day in and day out, every single day of our lives. Good evening, Sister Marcia. Thank you for joining. And sometimes we are so conditioned, and I'll tell you why, but I feel like, again, I'm speaking from a personal experience. I feel like we are conditioned to undervalue our feelings, perhaps, or not so much undervalue, perhaps is hiding our emotions or putting a mask to our emotions. For example, let's say you really, really care about something, but you have been conditioned to be strong and, never say I can't, and have that fighting spirit of, never give up, where you tend to unconsciously maybe hide behind that. I hope that makes sense. You tend to hide behind that shield of, well, don't mess with me. I can do anything I set my mind to do, and positive mindset, right? So the moment something comes your way, you're like, oh no, we're not doing this. Your mind goes to neglecting that which is happening, to neglecting the learning experience from that which is happening, because you're just ready to protect yourself. You're ready to protect your emotions. Nothing is happening, nothing is happening in reality to affect you in a negative way, but we're already taking it that way because we don't even want to go through it. We don't want to deal with it. I don't want it. Just leave me alone. And that is not a way to handle any situation, and that is not a way to live. Again, that's not a way to handle any situation, and that's not a way to live, where we hide behind that shield, that self-protection, that, I got this, like, leave me alone. No, that's not a way to live, nor is it a way to resolve or manage any situation. And so when it just this week and in different things that I have experienced, I realized, I don't want to say I learned, because I think that I already know. You know what you know, but again, you don't want to think about it. You don't want to think about it, or you don't want to face it, or you don't know how to work through it. It could definitely be that simple, where you've never been, quote unquote, taught how to work through that because of whatever reason. Maybe I know, for example, in many cultures, we don't accept or have a positive mind frame when it comes to counseling or psychology or things like that, because again, we're conditioned to say, no, I got this, I can take care of my family, or I don't need any assistance. Yeah, we do. Sorry to break it to you guys, but yes, we do need help. We do need counseling sometimes. We do need each other. We do need community. And so that is no way to think that we are able to do every single thing and deal and process with everything on our own. Absolutely not. Good evening, Mommy Jasmine. Good evening. Thank you for joining me this evening. And again, please take a moment to share and invite. I think this is something that when people hear it, it's going to be like, oh, okay, I get it. So please go ahead and share. So I believe that, I believe for me personally, because of my lived experiences, again, I've been conditioned to have that mindset of you got this, you can do it, never give up, never say you can't. Sometimes even undermining my feelings because I have to be strong, and so that I think that happens unconsciously by those around you. It happens by society. It happens by, your medical experiences, like in my case where I had to be strong. I always remember saying to the doctors when I was in the hospital, I'd be like, take care of my mom, I'm good. I was probably not good and I was super nervous and I was dying inside, super scared as a child or a young teenager. But I was like, I'm good. I'm used to this. It's another stay in the hospital. It's one more surgery, like whatever, And that was not the attitude, if you will, that I should have had in regards to hiding how I was truly feeling to ensure that that other person, whoever it might be, in this case my mom, was taken care of. That makes sense? So I think that's why I say it's very, very important. Boris, thank you for joining. Thank you so much for being here. I look forward to connecting with you very, very soon. Yes, we need to help each other. We can't do everything ourselves. Collaborating is the best way. Absolutely. So with that, guys, I want to talk to you tonight about emotional validation. Emotional validation. We all have emotions, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Therefore, we all need to have what is known as emotional validation. And so, what is emotional validation? That is understanding and validating. So, putting that stamp on it, showing acceptance of the feelings of other people and yourself. So, that's number one, showing the acceptance of your feelings and those of the other person. It feels like we are heard. Validation is knowing that you're heard, right? Feeling that you're heard and that what we feel matters. Again, sometimes we're told, oh, don't worry about it. Or something as simple as, oh, you don't want that, right? I mean, you're not hungry, right? You can share with your brother or sister. Like, how do you know I'm not hungry? How do you know I don't want my own plate of food? And those are little things that as a child we grow up with for self-validation. And it's funny because that our parents used to do that to us when we were little, which is fine because obviously we're not going to eat it all, so we don't want to waste money. And when my sister was born and she got older, I used to tell my mom, as if that was my child, no, let her order whatever she wants. If she doesn't eat it, we'll take it home. Like, it was very important to me that at a young age she knew that she had a voice and she knew that she had the right to make that decision. So that was important. So again, feeling like we are heard and that what we feel matters is definitely a form of validation. It doesn't mean that you agree. So just because you acknowledge my feelings or I acknowledge your feelings, it doesn't mean that you agree. It means that you're listening. It means that you understand without trying to talk to me or to talk me out of what I'm feeling and suppress it or make it feel like it's not important. Instead of that, you help me through it. And so that's important. It's listening to the feeling, whether you agree or not, because we are all different. And then, okay, what can we do to make it better? What can we do to make it better, staying within what is right in that particular situation? Because just because you're feeling a certain type of way, as it just happened to me, doesn't mean that you are correct in your feelings. However, it's important that you validate that individual's feelings, and then perhaps if you're able to walk them through, okay, well, why do you feel like that? And well, what about this perspective, right? So, and that too, it could definitely be a matter of perspective and what I explained earlier. Hi, Sister Jackie. Thank you for joining. And Sister Laurel, good evening. Thank you, ladies, for joining. Please share and invite. Thank you, thank you. And so that is definitely important when it comes to emotional validation. And so, again, why is validation important as it pertains to validating your emotions is you're communicating acceptance, okay? And it shows that you care and accept that person's feelings, but you're caring for that person for who they are and acknowledging that. You're strengthening relationships by validating the emotions. Like, okay, you feel this way, let's come together and work it out. So you are strengthening relationships and you show acceptance, therefore you feel connected, right? So for me, if you're showing me acceptance that what I felt mattered, right or wrong, and now you're bringing me together in this situation, okay, what I felt matters and let's work it out and let's fix it, versus in our own skin, in our own human understanding, it would have been like, forget it, I don't care, I don't want to work through it, like they don't get it, goodbye. And that's not the way it is. It's not the way it should be anyway. Never at all. And as someone explained to me the other day, it's like that's why people leave, and that's why people leave your life and leave different areas of your life, because you focus so much on the outside and on the human perspective versus the godly perspective and what it truly should be, and working it out for the betterment of everyone involved and yourself more than anything. Because after I went through the situation, I felt so much better. I felt liberated, like it was like eating me inside because it wasn't who I am. So it's very important to have emotional validation. Good evening, Sister Grace. Good evening. Thank you for joining. And so strengthening the relationships is important. Showing the value. So when you validate someone's emotions, again, you're showing that you care and that they're important, regardless of that emotion. So when people feel that others hear and understand them, it can help lessen the strong emotion and help regulate the emotion. So for me, my emotion was everywhere. It was quiet. I was quiet about it. I was anxious. It was a moment that it was just not something I wanted to experience. So that definitely, when I took the opportunity to talk about it and to just regulate the emotion and got that sense of it's okay to feel that, but why are you feeling this way? I was able to regulate my emotion and pray and calm down in a sense, right? Like we were saying, just calm down. And we did, and I did. So that was very empowering to know, okay, cool. What I feel matters. What the other person feel matters. Let's come together and let's make it work. And again, those things stem from, or the negative connotation to that, when someone is not able to regulate their emotion, when they get anxious or angry from the beginning, for me, it stems from something that happened to me early on, perhaps. Maybe it came from an experience I lived that I might not even remember right now. Maybe it came from someone that walked out. It could have been from anything at all, but I had to bring it back to what was happening now and understand, like, hey, this is not what's happening now. It's not what happened then. Who you're talking to now, or who you're having the situation with now, has nothing to do with what happened then. It's totally different. And so that was the cool part, to say it like that, about being able to work through this particular experience and a whole different, world of people, and a whole different time in my life where I'm like, wow, okay, this is good, And so I think it's important, after this and just reading certain things, I think it's important that we teach our children and our teenagers that emotional validation is important, and how to demonstrate that emotional validation, and to know the difference between emotional validation and emotional invalidation. Because emotional invalidation is definitely a thing that, again, emotional invalidation is a thing. We don't see it that way because it's kind of like a technical term. But if we live day by day and we analyze our daily life minute by minute, second by second, hour by hour, we will see a lot of emotional validation, why it's important, and also, too, the emotional invalidation. So we went through several details as to what emotional validation looks like, right? Now, emotional invalidation is the complete opposite. It is the complete opposite. Sister Elizabeth, good evening. I think Elizabeth might be a first-time visitor here on the Yes with Yesse show. Thank you for joining. She says, thanks for focusing on such an important topic. Emotional intelligence doesn't get the attention that it needs. I agree 100%. And to that point, Liz, I think that a lot of our students, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, I love that you chimed in. A lot of the students that we work with, okay, that have special needs and disabilities, I think that this is huge for them, because just because you have one diagnosis does not mean that just because you have one diagnosis doesn't mean that we could or should only focus on that one diagnosis, but we should definitely focus on the secondary effects of having that diagnosis. I hope that makes sense. As in my case, I'm not gonna lie, I have my physical disability, and I have had other struggles because of it. And those other struggles, because of the disability that I live with, were maybe never addressed the way they should have been, because the first focus was what they could see, my physical disability. So we don't put enough emphasis on the whole packet. In a sense, we don't put enough emphasis on the whole packet, as okay, they are born different in a world where different is not necessarily validated in this sense. And on top of that, on top of that diagnosis or that physical disability or whatever, now they have to deal with the secondary stuff due to this primary disability, in addition to everything that connects: society, standards, community, the lack thereof, being told what you can't do your whole life versus what you could do, or all of these different things. So, and then you can't use that as a diagnosis. You can't use those secondary diagnoses or those secondary issues. You can't use that as a primary issue to get help, if that makes sense. So, for example, if I am receiving services ABC for my current disability, and all the funding, all the state funding is going to that, I can't go request secondary services for an emotional behavior or mental, counseling or anything like that, because there's no budget for it. Like, no, we didn't budget you in for that kind of help. We budgeted you in for the needs of your primary disability. I absolutely love that you chimed in, Liz. I love it. I appreciate it very, very much. And so that is a whole thing in itself. We have to definitely, I think, as providers and as service providers, as liaisons, mentors. Liz is the owner of a educational program for individuals with special needs, and she was a principal, so she gets it firsthand. We definitely got to make it a priority, in a sense, to provide this whole roundabout service for that individual. And what I mean by that is, in my mind, I'm always like, we need that one-stop shop, like where a student or an individual with a disability can get everything, all the services that they need, and stay connected to that, and to the people that can help them overcome that. It's so, so, so important. I can't tell you how important it is. In addition to, like I always say, community and church, and that helps, guys. that the spiritual aspect is a lot. Is 99%, if not 100% of everything. So it is so, so important. Liz says that's exactly why she opened Lightwork Education. I appreciate you understanding what it is that I'm doing. To be honest with you, Liz, I've seen it, and I've seen it on posts and different things, and I've read it, but I've never really talked to you about it to really clearly understand what your goal is with Lightwork Education. So I appreciate you saying that I understand it, referring to what we're talking about tonight, because it's very, very necessary. It's very necessary. Your work is appreciated, and I really hope that we can bring more light, a lot more bright light, to the important work that people like yourselves are doing for the community. So that was amazing. Thank you so much. So yes, guys, validation of feelings is important. It is everything. So going back a little bit, just to give you guys a few examples of emotional invalidation. The problem with a person's sense of identity undermines the sense of self, and it gives the low self-esteem. I always talk about how, someone with a disability, the disability is a part of me, but it doesn't define who I am. And so I learned that later in life. I was always taught to never say I can't. I was always taught to be positive. All those awesome things. But it wasn't until I became an adult that I realized that somebody clearly stated to me, your disability doesn't define you. It's not my name is Yesse and I have spina bifida. It's my name is Yesse. This is who I am. This is what I do. And by the way, if it comes up, if you want to know, this is my diagnosis. So that is a sense of validating who I am as a person first, and then my disability is just a part of who I am, but it doesn't determine who I am. And so what happens when a person's sense of identity is undermined is that low self-esteem comes in, right? And so I have struggled with low self-esteem. I still do. There's certain, moments and aspects that I'm still working on it, but I am very, very much further than where I was before. So much further. And that's because, again, I realize that I have validation as a human, as a person, as talents, skills, abilities, dreams first, and that my disability is a part of me and it doesn't identify who I am. And so the other emotional invalidation would be difficulty managing emotions. Just kind of what we were talking about before, right? Let's not condition ourselves or anyone to hide their emotion, to hide how they truly feel, because they shouldn't feel that way. But instead, let's validate it. Okay, you feel that way? Okay, well, this is what we can do to help you work through it, or this is why you're feeling this way. And that's important too, understanding why we're feeling the way that we're feeling, and understanding why we should or why we should not feel the way that we are feeling. I think all of the above is very, very important. The next one is clear, and it's a part of everything that we've been mentioning. Thank you, Liz, again for your input. Is mental health, depression, and detachment from people. We develop that sense, that wall of self-defense, in a sense, like don't mess with me mentality, as I mentioned earlier, where we desensitize ourselves, like as if we don't care, like, oh, I don't care if I never see them again. Oh, well, that's just one more person that'll walk away from my life. No, that's not the right mindset to have at all whatsoever. Every single person in our life is important. Every single person in our life was brought to our lives for a reason. And, so we should never mix a temporary emotion to anything permanent. Make sense? So it's very uncomfortable to think that because I'm feeling this way now for like an hour or a day, I'm going to say I don't want to be a part of something or someone just because of this. No, it's not right. And you learn that when you learn that sense of emotional validation and you work through these situations and process what it is that you are feeling and why. And so when you're able to process this, then you're no longer holding it. You're no longer burying it inside. It's no longer in the back of your mind, causing you to cry for no reason. You find yourself crying on your way in the car and you're like, what's happening? Because consciously there's quote unquote nothing wrong, but here in the back of your mind, you're still thinking about something that happened a week ago or a month ago, because you haven't had the ability or the opportunity to process it accordingly. So that is very, very important. If we don't process it and we don't have that emotional sense of validation or process, then it comes to other effects that will come about for no reason. And so when we talk about all of that, as we come to the end of the show, is how do we validate? So we talked about emotional validation, why validation of your emotions is important. We talk about emotional invalidation. And so now, how do you validate your emotions? Okay, so again, it goes back to identifying why you're feeling this way, right? So identify and acknowledge the emotions, acknowledge the source of the emotion. I'm feeling this way because, acknowledge why you're feeling that way. When we're asked, well, what happened or why do you feel this way? And we say, I don't know. That's very easy to say, I don't know, but you know that you know why you're feeling a certain type of way. You know why you're not feeling a certain type of way for that matter. Because you know. Um, and then, so again, identifying and asking and acknowledging the emotion, acknowledging the source of the emotion, and validating the emotion. So, those three things will help you to validate your emotion and be able to process, what it is that you are feeling. Sister Mina is definitely checking in and listening to us. So, thank you, Miss Mina. She just sent me a message. Appreciate it. And so, yeah, guys, it's very important, and I made a note that it says that we create these scenarios in our mind sometimes, versus seeing things for what it is, receiving it for what it is. For some reason, we create these images and these scenarios in our minds where it's not necessarily the way it is or the way that it happened or the way that it needs to be. It's just, I guess, what we are used to maybe, or relating it to what has happened before. So let's not do that, guys. Let's definitely make it a point to process our emotions. Remember that we live in a community, we live in society, we're going to be around people every single day. If you're like me and you work in community, nonprofits, events, fashion shows, and I'm always around people, church, I'm always here, always around people, we have to learn how to validate how to process our emotions rather. Learn the difference, and the past few days really taught me a lot as it pertains to emotional validation and invalidation, and as well as to why it didn't happen sooner, or just thinking about the things as to what I could have done sooner to work through certain situations. And so, or even the people around me in those times of struggle emotionally and everything else, just really due to life situations. So it's very important, guys. As I always say, it's important to have community. It's important to surround yourself around people that you can learn from, people that will validate you as a human and your emotions, and not only say yes, okay, and amen, but help you through it, and walk you through it and teach you through it. And that's something that I absolutely appreciate. That in a very short time I have grown so much, and continue to grow in as an individual, emotionally, in faith, and in everything. So thank you guys so much for joining me this evening. I pray that you learned something and that you got something out of tonight's episode with me. Yes, with Yesse. This is a platform that is here to educate, entertain, inspire you to be the best versions of yourselves, and know that with God by our side, nothing is impossible. And so I want to encourage you guys with that to continue to support your favorite station here at New Season Gospel FM. Ways to support are on the screen. You guys just being there on the other side, you are supporting more than you will ever know. You are supporting a station, you are supporting dreams, you are supporting a ministry. So never feel like what you do is too little or does it matter? Because we see it and we sure truly appreciate it. So I encourage you guys to give. Ways to give are on the screen. And if you say that that whole Cash App and Zelle doesn't work for you and you just want to go ahead and mail us a check for the ministry, you're more than welcome to send a check to 4660 North University Drive, Lauderhill, Florida 33351. And that is to New Season. And I will see you guys again, God willing, for Latin Monday, this coming Monday, and then all over again for another episode of Yes with Yesse next Thursday at 6:30. Liz and anybody else, if you're out there, please share this platform of Yes with Yesse, and let's get other families and individuals in an all-inclusive community to join us, to like our New Season Gospel FM Facebook, to join us on our YouTube channel, which is New Season Gospel FM, all one word. And let's create something big. Let's continue to create something big where all people matter. All people are welcome, regardless of their disability and cultural background. People are people, right? And that's what New Season is all about. So thank you guys. Once again, I will see you guys next week for another episode of Yes with Yesse. But first, Latin Monday. I'll see you bright and early on Monday. And of course, join us if you're in the area of Sunrise. Join us here at New Season Worship Center Sunday at 11 o'clock. Until then, guys, have an amazing evening and an amazing Friday. Don't forget to join us tomorrow morning for another fun Friday as well. You don't want to miss it. Have a great, great night, everybody. And please share and invite. Until then, see you soon.